The other method for solving quadratics is to use something called the quadratic formula. We'll look at deriving this later in the year, but for now, you just need to be able to remember this formula. I've linked into Compass a video. God knows if that will help you, but it definitely is interesting. So our steps for doing this. Check your discriminant. What you will notice is your discriminant, which is described as b squared minus 4ac, is actually this part here. So b squared minus 4ac. So this is a situation where actually doing that discriminant is totally worth it for A, telling you whether or not it's possible, but also because you can then just substitute it into your formula a little bit later. So definitely do that discriminant portion. In order to check the discriminant, you also need to identify A, B, and C. So step 2 there is A, B, C. So notice your A is out the front, your B is in the middle, and your C is at the end. Make sure you keep your sign with it. So that's plus B and plus C, but if it was a minus 3x or something, then it would be negative 3 is your B value. Substitute those values into the formula. So I've got the formula written there. So substitute it into this formula and then solve the equation for x. So just simplify this all down. You can check it by substituting it back into your original equation and you should get out 0. So looking at the first example that we've got here, we identify our A, B, and C. So A is 2, B is 3, and C is negative 20, so keep that negative. And then we look for the discriminant. So the discriminant is going to be b squared, so 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 20. I'm just doing that straight into my calculator and I get 169, which is awesome because later I'm going to take the square root of that and get 13. So that's quite a nice number. Now, writing out that quadratic formula, so negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And substituting in the values that I know. So I know b is 3. I'm not going to put in b squared minus 4ac. I'm going to put in 169. So I don't have to do that calculation again. And divide it by 2 times 2. Simplifying this just that little bit further, negative 3 plus or minus 13 divided by 4. And that's going to give me out the 2 results. So the 2 results I get is 5 on 2. Or I could also get negative 4. So those are my 2 answers that I'm going to box. You could check those, substitute them back into this top one, and you would get out y equals to 0. Or you should. That's your way to check it. The second example, 2m squared minus 7m minus 13 equals negative 10. Your first step is that you do need to move that negative 10 across. When using the quadratic formula or indeed factorizing, solving, any of those sort of things, you do need to have 0 on one side of the equation. So moving or plussing 10 to both sides is your very first step. This allows us to find A, B, and C, and hence check off our discriminant. So A is 2, B is negative 7, and C is negative 3. So keeping those negatives with the B and C values. Discriminant, I'm going to put that straight into my calculator again. So negative 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 3. And this is going to give me the result of 73. So note 73 is not a very nice number. So if you were doing this discriminant and looking to find out if you could factorize it, this is a sort of question you couldn't factorize by hand easily at all. In fact, the method to do that we won't look at until maybe term 4. So we're going to solve it. Solving it by hand is fine because we can use the quadratic formula. So writing that out again, minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Substituting in what we know, so we know negative 7. Instead of writing that b squared minus 4ac, I can just write 73, and a is going to be that 2. Simplifying that out, I get 7 plus or minus the square root of 73 divided by 4. And I can put that into my calculator. My calculator is going to tell me, can I simplify it anywhere? And by the looks of this, I can't. So 7 plus root 73 on 4 is just popped out with the same thing. So root 73 can't be simplified. That's what that tells me there. And if I pressed Control Enter on that, I could have got a decimal value. I'm just going to leave it like this though. I do have two solutions, so like normal, I've got two solutions. If your discriminant is positive, you should have two solutions. I've got 7 plus root 73 on 4, and I've got 7 minus root 73 on 4. So there's my two solutions. Alrighty, we can do this on our calculator though, so I can use solve again, and putting in my equation, make it equal to 0, and comma x is what I'm solving for, and that gives me out my two results here. I can do the same thing for this one. So take this equation, and I don't need to move that 10 across, I can leave it over there, that's alright on my calculator. And again, a comma x, solving for x. Now, there are other methods, so I could use 0 on my calculator. So zeros, sorry, there's an S on the end of that. And then I just put in my formula. I don't need to put it as a an equation, I just need to comma what I'm solving for. See, so that's popped up with an error because I put in an equals. So I'm going to have to move that 10 across. And when I move the 10 across, I comma m because that's what I'm solving for, and I get out my two results. Now, in some ways, zeros is actually a better function than solve. So if you do, and there's certain circumstances with surds that it's actually not going to work with solve, but if you do use zeros, that will work. The other thing is a function like this, if you were trying to use the null factor law and you were factoring, factoring on your calculator won't work. So just be aware of that, please. You do have to use zeros to solve or something similar.